Let's talk smoke alarm warranty. Hi, I'm Scott from Glasshouse Home Safety. So, it just seems to be the general consensus among consumers that when a smoke alarm goes off, it's got to be faulty, right? Well, that's not necessarily the case. What is warranty? Warranty is generally coming from the manufacturer, and it's saying, okay, if we've made something and we've made it wrong, and it becomes faulty, we'll replace it. But it's nothing to do with environmental circumstances. You see, people say, oh look, my old alarms never went off, and these new photo opticals, a bit more sensitive. Yes, that's right. The old ionisation alarms, which have become not allowed in Queensland, they didn't go off in a real fire even, or came in very late in the stages of the fire. So, basically they would come on when the flame was already up, and that's very, very late. And it's all about early warning. That's why they brought in photo opticals, because they would activate in the incipient stage of the fire. Now, photo opticals, they literally see. So what that means is they can be fooled a lot easier. Some would say they're more sensitive. I would just say that it depends upon the environment. But you look at the environment in Queensland, it's very difficult, especially in southeast Queensland. We've got humid, up in Maloney they've got houses that are in the clouds, and they've got water droplets floating around in the air. Now, basically, there was nothing in the room. Yes, well, if you're standing on the top of a mountain in a cloud and looking around, what does it look like? It looks like smoke. You put your hand out in front of you and it looks like there's nothing between you and your hand, but there's water droplets in the air. So, the things that are floating around there you can't necessarily see. Dust particles, little bits and pieces. Like anything can set these things off, with hairspray, underarm deodorant, anything that's airborne that'll float around. Now that's the problem, is that they've got to have the allowance for air to get inside the sensing chamber. Inside an alarm there is a little chamber that is an area where it's actually doing the looking. It's normally a very small space, and basically it's got to have air get in there in order to sample the air to see the smoke. So you can't block it off. Like if you want an alarm that never went off, never false alarm, put a bag over it. But it also wouldn't work in a fire. That's the problem. So they've got to have it, so that the air can get in. You can see in various different alarms, some of the Clipsal Wireless, for instance, they're just open to air, and they even have sort of like a catch, to catch dust and bugs, it seems. And progressively alarms have been moving along towards having more and more protection and restriction from the outside to try and restrict that. Bugs in Queensland are a real problem. Little tiny black house spiders that can get in through little tiny holes. So, as alarms progressed, different brands have put in these cages. Now the new Red Professional range have got a dual mesh with two different meshes on the outside, which is fantastic. It's got little tiny holes, it's got bigger holes. It still allows air in. So back to the topic, which is warranty. It's amazing to see these people that are out there, saying 10-year parts and label warranty. Seriously? Like any alarm expires every 10 years. Why have they? That's a rule. That's just the Building Code of Australia, the National Construction Code. That's basically an absolute rule in law. Every alarm expires every 10 years regardless. You've got to pull it down and put another one in its spot. So to say, it seems like the flavour of the month that all the manufacturers are saying 10-year warranty. But seriously, that is, sitting there sampling air for thousands and thousands of hours. And what's in the air? Like you sit in a room with sunlight coming through and you'll see little specks floating around, and that they build up. Just if you leave a room and don't dust it or vacuum it, you'll see the lint piling up. Now inside an alarm, it's doing that. It's picking up little bits of particles. It's getting dirty, it's getting moisture, it's getting bugs, and we got this issue where the alarms are going off. We've got a very strict process that we will work through, finishing up with, okay, well, if this one is going off, let's swap it with one that's not going off and see if it moves with the alarm. So people say, this alarm is faulty. And you go and take an alarm that has not been going off and put it in the same spot and it goes off. Ah, it's not the alarm, is it? It's the spot. It's the area. There's something going on there. And that's where you can go along trying to work out what is causing it in that area. And I do find that different brands of alarms are more sensitive than others, or in various ways. Some, for humidity, some for dust, some close to the waterfront with the salt air, salt floating around in the air. And you can experiment with that and try different brands and go, well, this one seems to work better, up in the hills. But it only works with doing thousands and thousands of different rental homes like we do. We get to see all of the different brands. And we see which ones go off and which ones don't, which ones, will survive. So the manufacturer's warranty is a different thing. That's just a replacement warranty. And even then, we get alarms that we would send away to a manufacturer and they will, come back and go, well, look at this, we've pulled this apart and have a look inside it. It's full of moisture, it's full of dust, it's full of bugs, and you look at it and think, yeah, I agree, man, it's like in such poor condition, no wonder it was going off. But then it's not a warranty issue. That's not warranty. Warranty is not for, as they put it, housekeeping. This is housekeeping. This is your environment. Warranty is for, we made a faulty product and we're going to replace it for you. So we get to be the piggy in the middle between the owner who thinks that they should just never go off and the manufacturer that's promised 10-year warranty. And if we can't go pulling apart, dismantling every single smoke alarm to see what's inside it. In fact, if we do, it voids the warranty. So all we can do is recommend people would, let's get the service done every year. Let's do it properly. Let's use a strong vacuum cleaner. Let's really clean them out as best we can every year and try and make sure things are good. I find that there's some homes that we're now getting to where, okay, well, let's face it, you need to be getting these serviced once every 6 months, or at least going around yourself and vacuuming. Ideally, once a month, grab your own vacuum cleaner, put a brush on the end of the pole. You don't have to climb up. You could use the pole. It's not like when you're vacuuming, you're getting down on your hands and knees. You've got this pole. You've got a brush on the end of the pole to concentrate the airflow. You're going to grab that and vacuum around the outside of the alarm to try and suck stuff out of the inside. People tell me, oh yeah, I vacuumed the front of it. You're not trying to make it look good. You're trying to suck stuff out of the inside of it. And some houses are worse than others, especially, old Queenslanders. I've had one recently that the alarms were perfect for 14, 15 months. They did get the service done on the 12 months. And yeah, but, around the 16, 18 months mark, man, they just started going off randomly, different ones all over the place. And if you've got a good wall controller with a locate button, locate is awesome because you can go, well, it was this one, okay, it was this one. So if you're using the locate button and you can work it out, these are really odd, what's going on there? And we'd been there a couple of times and they say, oh no, these are faulty. We'd gone there and replaced an alarm, and you go through the fault finding process as best you can with them. But some people want to cooperate and understand what you're doing, others don't. No, these are going off, come here now, replace them. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I went there myself because I was interested to know what was the story with this place. And I get there and there's no fly screen on the kitchen window. It's an old Queenslander. You can see through the floor in cracks. You can, in other words, spiders, dust, bugs. The fans were covered in lint, which is circulating and blowing into the alarms. Just had to say to them, look, okay, this is not a good environment. You either need to be cleaning these much more regularly, or you're going to have to just replace the alarm every couple of years. It's like, that's not to do with a faulty alarm. That's to do with the environment. That's to do with what is floating around in the air. And that's really hard to work out with people because they believe, yep, especially when they see these that are saying 10-year warranty, 10-year labour, man, really? Well, how many times are they in that 10 years? Are they going to come back? Especially if they're cheap Chinese Anker knockoffs. They, alarms that don't even have a cage around the outside. And they're just going to, go back every time? Like, once every couple of years and just replace the alarms for free? There's not that much margin in the install in the first place. So they're not going to be, it's a false, hollow promise. You'd rather be told, okay, here's the facts. Every house is different. Every house has a different sort of an environment, humidity, dust, how often it's cleaned, how often the alarms are serviced. I bring back alarms that have been false alarming in a house and sit them in my office, which is air conditioned clean. They never go off. Okay, well, that's not warranty. That is not warranty. Warranty is faulty products, not dirty environment. And you've got to work through that. Unfortunately, that's the law. The law does not allow for changing Queensland circumstances where you've got old houses on stilts that are open to air. But we won't be doing promises of, 10-year unlimited labour warranty. How do we know what's causing it? Often you're trying to talk to someone on the phone and you say, well, if they're not going off when we're not there, what can we do? We can clean them, we can reset them, we can try to recalibrate them, we can do everything that we can. But in the end, with interconnected alarms, you have to get down to which one is going off. Which one is going off every time? Because if one goes off, they all go off, and people just, they're all going off. Just find the one that's causing it. A general rule would be which one is flashing red flat out when they're screaming. But if you've got a wall controller that has a locate button, especially if it's got a memory function on that locate, not these crappy hushies, the free hushies, they don't have a memory. They can't locate which one it is and narrow it down and say this is the one. And then you can go along that fault finding route and go, let's move that and see if it moves with the alarm or stays with the room. And that's so. Long story short, warranty is about faulty products. The difficulty is trying to prove whether it's faulty or whether it's environmental, and that's where you've got to jump through some hoops, do some basic fault finding, work with your installer to answer some questions and work out what's happening. And maybe just maybe your house needs to be serviced more often. The alarms might need to be vacuumed more often. And perhaps you need to swap to a different brand and try one that's proven for that particular environment. There's no magic silver bullet to solve it when you've got one that's going off, other than going through the steps. You're not going to come in and replace them all every time they go off. So it's a matter of cooperating with the installer and trying to fault find it. And if you do cooperate, we can shorten the whole process instead of dragging it out over and over again. We've been there and replaced one, and then we're back next week, and it's, which one is it? Dunno. Same thing, you're in the dark. You need to be working out which one it is. You need to be cleaning it. You need to be going along that fault finding route. But think about warranty as a promise from a manufacturer that they believe they've manufactured a good product and that it was fine when it left the factory, and that hopefully the components are going to stand up to whatever things come along, because especially if it's hardwired, it's getting shocks off the line all the time. The grid, the electricity grid, has spikes up and down, and the range is amazing. You ever see lightning storm, your TV or your lights dim, that's like a brownout. It's dragging the power down. The thing's relying on a stable power supply, and the power supply is going up, going down. It's not good for it. Some of these false alarms could be just down to that, spikes in the line. But again, the cheaper the alarm, the less filter protection there is on it, and basically it's coming down to the people that are prepared to spend the money to get a quality alarm the first time will go longer. But any alarm that goes 10 years without problems, amazing. I'd say that would be Ripley's, believe it or not. 10 years, an alarm sitting there sampling for thousands of hours and not playing up at any time? Unlikely, especially if it's hardwired. That's why I like the wireless ones. Stable power supply. Stable, unfluctuating, reliable. Anyway, I hope that helps. So when you're thinking about your smoke alarms and what they're going off, why they're going off, work with your installer. Don't just assume that the alarm is faulty. Look at the environment and think about what's going on. Hope that helps. I'm Scott White from Glasshouse Home Safety.